Hello, my name is Sam Parrish. I just got 17th at the Greenville Regional a day or two ago. Playing Pendulum Magician Punk, went 7-2. So this is the list. So we got one Dragon Pit Magician. You side it out a lot when you're not against a control deck or something, but it's people are playing Mystic Mine right now, Skill Drain, etc. So I think it's worth the include. Searchable out to those things.
Yep.
Black Thing Magician, especially prevalent now because Chaos Ruler is going to mill some stuff, but I've always liked it. Double Celestial Magician, I think 3 is excessive, but it's a great card. 3 Double Iris Magician, 3 Harmonizing, 3 Wisdom Eye, 3 Oath Dragon. These are all indisputable. Anyone that plays Pen Magicians knows that. 1 Purple Poison, 1 White Wing. Purple is just great for utility reasons. White Wing is great just to have a follow-up sort of synchro play or extra tuner. She can go into Barone with Chronograph, Harmonizing can't. So she's just good enough to play. 3 Chronograph, 1 Time Gazer. I found myself siding these out a lot going second, just because going second, you need extenders, but you more so just need to be able to break a board with things like Lava Golem Dark Ruler and your main combo of Pin Summon Harmonizing.
How many times did you draw Chrono and Time Gazer?
I think literally every time I drew Time Gazer, I also had Chronograph, and
Damn.
It was just made it worse.
Oh yeah.
One thing to note is there are times where you'll open Time Gazer, no other high scale, and you'll have like an E-Teller or something. In that case, you want to scale Time Gazer before you E-Telly, just because when you control a monster, you can't activate him in scale. So if you already know that he's most likely going to be your high scale, go ahead and put him there before you put a monster on board. Otherwise, you may regret it if you don't have another way to get to a high scale. That came up once or twice. 3 Joker. Opening E-Telly plus Joker feels like it's impossible to lose. It's just insanely good. Double Tuning Magician. She's your needle fiber target. There are times where you will mill one with Chaos Ruler. That's fine. If you mill both, it's a little bit rough, but then Hout can still just summon out a Xiamen and it doesn't change things all too much. 3 Duelist Alliance, 3 P.U.N.K. Because your main play, disregarding the Punk stuff, the main Pendulum plays just circulates around having a high scale, Oath Dragon, and Harmonizing. So Pendulum Call just gets any 2 of those that you're missing. So my buddy, and I should probably mention this in the beginning, my buddy Alex is the one who initially came up with the idea for Punk Pendulum. After the last list, we got Beyond the Pendulum and everything, so we knew the deck was going to change a lot. Didn't know what direction to play it in, and so he came up with Punk Pendulum. He cut P.U.N.K down to 2, just for space reasons, and I mean, you're playing 5 of it anyways in that case because you have the Duelist Alliances. I kept it at 3. I feel like if you open double P.U.N.K, well, you just discard one of them with the other. You can, if you have multiples, you can discard one with Foxy Tune. Like, it's not the worst thing to open multiple of, but you know, as long as you're going to see it, it's not the end of the world.
Do you have a monster search target with the Duelist Alliance?
Yes. So because Double Iris Magician specifies in his monster text, this card is always treated as a Pendulum Dragon card.
Okay,
you can search him with Duelist Alliance. He's the only thing.
Yeah, I always forget he has that.
Yeah, it's very helpful. Use searchable high scale. I wish, you know, in Odd Eyes you can search a lot more, but this is an Odd Eyes. But yeah, so then your other Duelist Alliance targets, Star Pendulum Graph and Time Pendulum Graph, also Double Iris targets. Both of these are incredibly good. Time Pendulum Graph is actually what makes the Punk Pendulum build so good, and I'll explain that in a minute when I get to sort of the main combo and why this build I think specifically is really good. Star Pendulum Graph is insanely good, especially if you open it. Opening this and like Wisdom Eye is fantastic. The only problem is opening this and like Pendulum Call. It's not the worst thing, because even like linking away or synchroing or anything like that with your pendulums will still get you searches, but oftentimes that happens after your pendulum summon, so it's not as useful. But if you open this with Wisdom Eye and you're not going to pin call, it feels insane. If you open it and you're going to normal summon a magician to do link stuff, it feels insane. It's really, really good. Notably, this didn't come up for me this weekend, but it has in the past. With the way the current format is going, things like Forbidden Chalice is really good, Imperm is really good, things that stop Scythe and all that. And because of that, these two, they have an effect where your opponent cannot target spellcaster monsters with spell effects or spell cards, and with trap effects or trap cards. So that's one thing to keep in mind as you're playing, is if you have like Time Pendulum Graph up, for example, and you go for a mid-game normal summon Joker, they can't imperm it. They can't chalice it, things like that. It's things that you wouldn't really think about, and it's very easy to have this on the board and not realize that's an illegal play that they're doing. But it's something worth keeping in mind.
Also, another out to mine.
That is also true. Yeah, Time Pendulum Graph was my safety blanket. This and Dragon Pit made me feel very comfortable going up against Mystic Mine shenanigans. Also, things like Branded Despia, they have like Branded Opening, which in Graveyard can protect their Despia from destruction. If you're using Time Graph, it doesn't matter because you attempt to destroy it, it doesn't destroy, so then it just sends it to grave anyways. So yeah, Time Pendulum Graph is insane. I used to be of the belief that I would side it out going second because you just kind of want to all gas OTK. I don't think that's right at this point. I mean, you can break a board and then set up a board of your own anyways, and having Time Pendulum Graph on that board makes it so much easier to just not let your opponent come back from it. Then Call by the Grave. This one, again, so Alex, the guy that helped me put this together, right before the event started, I was wanting to find room for Scarlight, Red Dragon, Archfiend in the side because I was paranoid about going into time. This deck pays a lot of life points. I wanted something that offset that in Game 3, and I had Call by in the side deck, partly just because it was against Scythe decks, it's good, and for going first, it's good, whatever. And he said he had been maining Call by the Grave. He said, just throw it in the main, it'll be good. I threw it in there. No joke, this thing won me like 5 games on its own.
Oh yeah.
I called by Droll like 3 times. I called by an Ash. I called by a Scythe. I called by all sorts of stuff. I called by a Foxy Tune at one point. This card's insane. I definitely think it's worth doing in the main. Your main combo, you can do a lot of just E-Telly, and then the other 4 cards in hand just need to let you pen summon Harmonizing. So if one of them is called by, you're still consistent. So now the punk part. So 3 E-Telly and 2 Zeaman. Normal summon Zeaman is still the like full combo. If you start with E-Telly instead, most of the time you can also make a rank 4 in addition to your board. Whereas if you normal summon Zeaman, you usually can't because it's that extra normal summon that allows you to get into the rank 4. But either way is full combo. It puts your opponent in a really rough spot if you E-Telly because like they want to Ash it, but they also want to save the Ash for like the Foxy Tune. It just makes them make decisions, and under pressure, a lot of times they'll slip up, and so they might Ash E-Telly you. Okay, anyways, normal summon Zeaman, or okay, activate Pin Call. I don't know why this is at 3. And then 1 Deer Note, 1 Foxy Tune. There are a lot of punk decks running around that are playing 3 Foxy Tune because they really want to see that. This deck, it's not necessarily the case. This is not your starter. It just gets you further into the engine by getting Deer Note out. And then Scythe. I hate Scythe. I wish it were banned. I really just don't like it. It feels bad winning with it. However, I love this deck, and this is currently the best way to play it. I mean, this deck, Scythe locks so easily. Literally, Pin Summon Harmonizing is Scythe Lock by itself. Scythe Lock plus Barone. So you just can't not play it. So that's all for the main deck. 44 cards. Like I said, I was doing 43, but then I had the Call by the Grave. But it felt great. I literally never had a brick hand where I couldn't do anything. Even when you don't draw the punk stuff, you still draw Pendulum stuff. I had one hand that was like double Duelist Alliance, Tuning Magician, Oath Dragon, Emergency Teleport, and my end board was still like the full combo board with Hulk, Scythe, Time Graph, and Barone. So yeah, very consistent. So for the side deck, we have 1 Red Reboot. I hate trap cards. We have 3-Dimensional Barrier. I hate this card, hence the Red Reboot. 1 Feather Duster, triple Cosmic Cyclone. Anti-Spell is obviously a death sentence for this deck for the most part, and it's very popular right now. So this card is just very important. 3 Dark Ruler, 2 Lava Golem. The combo decks right now are pretty good, but most of the decks that are doing Scythe Lock are doing Hulk into Wonder Magician into Barone. And notably, if you open with Dark Ruler or Lava Golem, you can stop that before they get to it. So these are great for that. I also Flunder is a very hard matchup for this deck sometimes, and Dark Ruler helps all of that. Lava Golem not so much because Barrier Statue. But fun fact for people that didn't notice, under Barrier Statue you can still pin summon White Wing and Oath Dragon and make Barone to pop the Barrier Statue because all of those are wind. So that's fun, right? Then we got the Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. Like I said, this was for time. I partly wanted to cut Supreme King Clearwing and just main deck it, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I sided it. I brought it in every game 3. I never ended up making it. The 2 matches that I lost both of them in time, and in both of them, I wasn't in like a dominating position, but I was in a position where I definitely felt like I was on the upswing and I was going to be able to outgrind them if I had more time. I just didn't. But I think it's still good to play. I just never ended up making it. Also worth noting, with your main combo, between Tuning Magician and the Punk engine, you pay 1,000 life points and give your opponent 400. So you make a deficit of 1,400. So as long as Starlight can pop 3 monsters and do 1,500, you can do your whole main combo and make like an Appaloosa, Barone, something like that to protect before you put this guy out there, and then make this guy pop 3 monsters of your own for 1,500 and win the game in time. You should intentionally strive for, but if you get caught in main phase in time, is what it is.
Yeah.
And then Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller was fantastic. I sided in a lot. I would usually take out Tornado Dragon for it. Tornado Dragon is just an extra way to pop Scythe, and it's also just good against back row decks. Also, a lot of decks right now revolve around field spells, things like the Therions and ABCs, Mystic Mine, stuff like that. So it's just a decent thing to have on your end board anyways, but I would sub it out for Abyss Dweller pretty often, and this card helped a lot throughout the day. And then the extra deck. So Underworld Goddess, she's fantastic. I've gone back and forth on playing her, but right now, the main decks that make me want to play her are Ad Ignister, feels like it's having a bit of an upswing, and Arrival Cybers can be difficult to out without her. And then even against like Despia, just pin 5, link away Masquerade feels pretty good. And then you cut off recursion effects, and she's unaffected by effects that don't target. So things like Mirror Jade cannot affect her. And the guy that makes everything's attack 0 can't affect her, things like that. Sky Striker has a bit of an uptick right now. It's great against that. Shuts off the Ray recursion and gets rid of Link without triggering Ray. So she feels very strong. Access Code, Appaloosa, Selene, Hulk, Beyond the Pendulum. I love this card. The chain blocking you can do with this is great. Ideally, and again, because Chaos Ruler is going to mill some magicians, it makes it more consistent. You can pin summon, Harmonizing, and Oath Dragon to zones she points to, or as long as they're 2 different levels, doesn't matter. But pin summon, Harmonizing, Oath, and you can go Chainlink 1 Beyond to target 2 cards to destroy them, Chainlink 2 Harmonizing to summon from deck, Chainlink 3 Oath Dragon to add a card from grave back to hand. And if they want to have something to stop the Oath Dragon, by all means, who cares? But you're chain blocking both Beyond and Harmonizing, and that feels really good.
Right.
Then we got Artifact Dagda. Artemis is just something to link tuning into. It makes it where tuning goes from 1 monster into 2 monsters for free. So you're just playing it for what it is, not for what it does necessarily. But it definitely feels worth playing. So then we got the Wonder Magician herself. So she pops the Scythe, and then you synchro her into Barone. The Spring King Clearwing, love this card.
Yeah, cards are nuts.
Yeah, it's great. A lot of people don't even know about it either. So when you drop it, they're like, "Wait, you can just do that?" And it's great. Chaos Ruler. This is obviously part of the Punk combo. This plus Tuning Magician is going to get you into your hot red, and then you're going to put Scales on board and summon back out Tuning and make Barone. So that's how you play around Nibiru. There's a different line that Pendulums have been doing for a while now, pretty much since Barone came out, where you just pin summon Harmonizing and anything else, and summon Oath Dragon, make Barone with Harmonizing, and then add her back with Oath, normal, make Hulk, etc. That combo still works if you don't draw the Punk stuff, or if you just want to do that before you do the Punk stuff. And that's Barone under 5 summons. The Punk combo does not put Barone out in under 5 summons, but it does not use your pin summon, and if you opened E-Telly, it hasn't used your normal either. So if they do Nibiru you, then you can still like normal Pendulum, make Beyond, and Pendulum summon. So it's just very good. And then we got Baguska. He's feels pretty popular as format too. Style Mangrate is the other big deck I know that plays it.
Yep.
Very good against Flunder, unless you're me at locals, where the Flunder player, when you do this Time Graph Pass, opens Dark Roar, Twin Twisters both games in a row. That feels bad, but is what it is. And then Tornado Dragon. Like I said, feels pretty good to end on. It's also just another way of triggering the Scythe. But yeah, so that is the gist of the deck.
Is there anything at all you would change about it, looking back?
Honestly, not that I can think of. There was never a time I literally used every card in the extra deck at least 2 or 3 times the whole day. Um, while I didn't end up playing Scarlight, I never summoned him. I was always glad he was there. There was never a time where I regretted putting it there. Um, really, there's not much. Part of me was scared to not play Droll. Like I said, Flunder's a hard matchup, and it just feels like Droll hits a lot of decks this format. But I just could not find the space for it, and I never felt, there were times where it's like, man, it'd be nice to have Droll right now, but that's, even if you're playing Droll, you're not guaranteed to see it. So I was very happy with how it was.
Gotcha. All right, any other shout outs you want to give real quick before we close?
So shout out to Express TCG, great card shop in Augusta. Alex, hugely inspirational for this deck. II Powder YGO is his YouTube channel. Should be in the description. Pepper, of course, for having me on here. And just all the guys at Express TCG, Freddie, Alex, Johnny, Brock, Noah, etc., that were there with me, having a good time, and it's nice to celebrate between rounds every time number went up.
All right, man. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no problem.